That's what I was saying. I think Connor's a much better than Johnson.
It's young, still.
Oh, yeah.
They're still actually.
Well, he's home this week. His presentation at the festival of high school students.
Are they any closer?
No. Studios are gonna hold it till Christmas.
Yeah.
Can't get through that.
So terrible. I was shot there. Lindsay does. Yeah.
She was. So much. She loves it. There we go.
It's great. It's the perfect thing that they can trigger the clear away.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
Second.
Yeah. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. It's now 2:52 PM. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your patience. We were just running a little bit behind on some of the other in-camera items, so as I typically do before we actually jump into the substantive portions of the agenda, I just want to always just touch base and share some tidbits about what's going on in the community, what's going on with the service, what's going on with the board. I will draw your attention back to September 26th, when we had our homecoming FOCO in the city of London. There were some interesting statistics that were provided that have been previously provided by the police service, but things that I just want to take a second to recognize at the top of the meeting here. So as is usually the case, it's estimated that there was a total of approximately 10,000 people that were in attendance on the streets throughout the day. And then of those 10,000, 7,000 stayed running strong into the evening over on Brochdale and Epworth and all of that. And so we just want to say a special thank you to our London Police Service for, once again, the exceptional work that they did to maintain safety, security, and order during when you have that many people gathered in one space. Never an easy thing. Some enforcement numbers I'll share with or reshare, I guess, with the public here. There were 38 Liquor License Control Act charges. There were 16 Highway Traffic Act charges, 249 administrative monetary penalties, including public nuisance parties, excessive noise and parking charges. There were 10 bylaw charges, 2 criminal code charges. One was assault with a weapon and possession of property obtained by crime. And in addition to all the actual formal charges, there were numerous verbal warnings that were issued to individuals as our officers worked throughout the crowd to ensure the safety of everybody involved, participants in communities and officers themselves. And a statistic from the London Health Science Center reported that there were 31 patients that were treated in relation to these gatherings. And so every year, our police do an exceptional job in terms of maintaining, the excessively large crowds during the homecoming events. So again, a special thank you on behalf of the London Police Services Board to the service, through you, Chief, and your team for again another stellar job on that regard. So thank you.
Sure.
Some things that are happening. Actually, just while I'm on that point, not just with regards to home COVID, I know that recently in the last little while, we've had, gatherings and vigils and public displays on a whole host of reasons that are taking place in the city. And again, a thank you to the police for the work that you've done in terms of maintaining public order on that front as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Shine the Light on Women Abuse campaign kickoff takes place November 1st, 5:30 at Victoria Park. It's the lighting of the Tree of Hope ceremony. And I just want to say, just bring attention to that and say that all are welcome to attend that on November 1st at 5:30. So another annual excellent, amazing campaign. So November 1st, 5:30 at Victoria Park. And then on a much sadder note, I wanted to take a moment here at the top of the meeting to acknowledge the tragic death and killing of our CMP officer Rick O'Brien, which occurred on September 22nd in Coquitlam, British Columbia. Constable O'Brien was shot while executing a drug-related search warrant at a residence, and this would mark the 12th Canadian police officer that was killed in the line of duty in the past year. And I just wanted to take a moment of silence at the top of the meeting to recognize Constable O'Brien's sacrifice. And if we could just take 10 seconds, moment of silence. Thank you. Those are the public announcements, public things happening around the city, and with that, we'll get right into the formal agenda. So with that, board members, disclosure of interest, are there any members that have any conflicts, disclosures of interest that they want to declare? And if so, please do now. Okay, seeing none. Do any of the members have any new items they want to add to the agenda for today? Seeing none. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing from announcements. Mayor Morgan was with us all day. He was with us in camera, but had to leave just a few minutes before we got started. They're the Big 12 city mayors meeting in Whitby. And so he sends his regrets and asked me to convey to everybody his regrets for not being here, but he's en route right now. So no new business from members of the board. In your package, you have the minutes of the September 21st, 2023 meeting. So I just need a motion moved by Nancy, seconded by, Member Branscombe, seconded by Vice Chair Walker. Any debate discussion with regards to same? If not, I'll call a motion. All approved, all in favor? Approved. Thank you. Deputy Chief Bastine, I'll look over to you. Complaints against police second quarter 2023.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So this is the Q2 report. It was originally sent for reporting in the previous meeting this term, but was moved for, I suppose, to make some movement on the agenda. So this is Q2. So this is report submitted in accordance with the above referenced policies, which in particular are our complaints reporting. LPSB policy number 60 reports to the board, and number 112 public complaints. This is again the Q2 period ending June 30th, 2023. Current data reflects an upward trend in some areas, including number of investigations undertaken by the professional standards branch investigators, and number of complaints about conduct, service, or policy, as well as number of local discussions undertaken during that period. At the same time, we saw an uptick in the number of complaints screened out by the director, the Office of the Independent Review Director, for a number of reasons. So you have the statistics before you, and reports submitted for the board's information with that recommendation.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Bastine. Any questions for Deputy Chief?
It's probably true, or probably you're comparing Q2 for every year. They're all Q2.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to
That's correct.
make sure of that. Is there a reason for the increase? It seems fairly substantial.
The increase,
For example, under investigations complaints, 233, same time last year, 153, the year before 170. Even the complaints overall, 130 to 97.
Yes.
I guess I just wondered what the upward trend is.
No, so
If we know.
I don't, so that includes all public complaints, in particular, overall, I see you're, if I've got your question correct, it's the total number, which, is the chief's complaints or internal harassment complaints, public complaints and SIU. In particular, the biggest jump there is probably in relation to the complaints, or sorry, the public complaints and also local discussions. So I don't have necessarily an answer there. But it's something that, again, as the trend emerges.
So, I mean, just out of the blue, so would somebody complain if they called 911 and didn't get service? Is that where that kind of stuff comes up?
So service complaints, yes, that's correct. So service complaints would be part of that.
Okay, so that might be an obvious answer to the question.
So that's fair.
Sorry.
No, that's fair. Thank you for answering your question, but you're right. So in terms of service complaints, that's something you'll hear, again, on the agenda today. You'll hear that, we do receive a number of service complaints. Many of those, related to, response times, as you know, and our ability to answer quickly. In particular, with respect to what we call code 2 or urgent response calls, or code 3, which are non-urgent calls. So that's correct. That's not, broken down in that particular number, but that would be a significant part of it. One thing I'll indicate to the board at this point is that, similar to what we saw or what we presented to the board earlier this year in terms of use of force reporting statistics, we were trying to modernize the way we report on complaints, actually capture and report on complaint statistics, so that it's more meaningful and fight for greater analysis for us and perhaps more meaningful for the board.
Good. Thanks, I'll move.
Yeah, before we get to that, Member Voss.
Yeah, thank you through you, Chair. I just was wondering if either to Deputy Chief or the Chief through you, are there any new strategies being implemented, or how are we looking at this? Because there are some, as Member Brand spoke about, there are some sizable jumps. Obviously that, there is frustration among the public on certain aspects of service delivery, but also too, when there's a complaint, there's the stress that's placed on the officer when it comes to those complaints as well. I think it's very important to point out the high number of complaints that were screened out by OIPRD in 2023, 89, and that is a continual rise as well. But some of these numbers are, they jumped off the page to me, complaints in public from 50 in 2019 to 111 in 2023. And then the various different tables. I won't go through numerous examples, but I'm just curious, has the senior command looked at any strategies on how we can, look to try to bring that trend back down, whether through public outreach, working with officers and the public in general?
Yeah, Chief.
Thank you, and Chair, through you. I think it's important to know how many complaints were screened out that weren't warrant the word I'm looking for. Sorry. Yes, substantiate. I'm sorry. But I will say this, that is one thing that we are looking at. The reduction in complaints will revolve around what this organization does in terms of service delivery. So a lot of these are service complaints, and as we progress and work towards having our budget approved, that will dictate the new service delivery model for this organization, which will really mitigate these service complaints. And that's at the forefront of the service delivery model. That is one of the priorities, and very confident, this administration is confident that once the new service delivery model is in place, you'll see a drastic reduction in complaints, specifically to service complaints. With our ask and with our plans in moving for the next 4 years, there's going to be, if approved, technology advances, modernization advances that will, for example, in-car camera, body-worn cameras, if approved, that will assist our officers and support Because we know the evidence is out there. There's a lot that complaints decrease when officers have body worn cameras or in-car cameras activated. And whether it's a change in behavior of the officer or whether it's a change in frivolous complaints being brought to the attention. So all of these things will come into play, which will address this trend, this increasing trend. I'm very confident that it'll decrease.
Supplemental, Chair? Thank you. So just more of a comment, just thank you for that, Chief. And I think that I'm excited and I'm optimistic about the new service delivery model that you're talking about. And I think that not only is the public ready for it, I think the officers right throughout the ranks are ready for it as well. So thank you for that response. And with that, I'll second the report, Chair.
Thank you. So we have it moved by member Branscombe, seconded by member Goss. Is there any further debate discussion on this topic? Any further questions for Chief or Deputy Chief Baskin? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you kindly. Staying with you, Deputy Chief Bastine, we're going to go to the service complaint.
Thank you, Chair, it's for you. So this is a report in relation to a service complaint. This one does not relate to response time or anything related to our previous discussion a minute ago, but submitted for the board's information. This is a case of a complaint in which it was alleged that a member of an independent media outlet did not receive sufficient notice with respect to all their press conferences, media conferences. That was investigated, found to be unsubstantiated. Essentially that the LPS had adhered to procedures surrounding corporate communications and media relations. And ultimately upon adjudication, the complaint was deemed unsubstantiated. Subject to any questions, that's the report submitted for your information. Move, Chair.
Thank you, and thank you. So moved by member Goss, second by member Branscombe. It's on the floor. Questions for Deputy Chief? Yep, Councillor Lynn.
So we have a way of how we let the media know. We look at who's accredited with the CRTC. But as we know, media is rapidly changing in the internet world. And we look to other police services to see if does anyone else have any other way of identifying who should be notified for media releases, etc.
So thank you, Chair, through you. I think that's not something we've done at this point. However, again, my understanding is that practice is typically that accredited standard is the baseline. And this complaint pertained to a specific press conference as opposed to another publicly advertised event. And I know that our media corporate communications and media relations office is very active and engaged in the provincial network of other similar offices to other police services. But I'd have to take that back and inquire about that specific question.
Any other questions or members? Seeing none, so the motion that member Branscombe moved that the board receives for informational purposes the service complaint report. So that was moved by member Branscombe, seconded by member Goss. Questions been asked, debate and discussion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you so much. Deputy Chief Bastine, we're gonna keep coming back to you a couple more times here, so stay with you.
Thank you, Chair, through you. So this is the suspect apprehensions pursuits third quarter report, distinguished by from the complaints, which again was the second quarter. So this is the Q3 stats before you. During the quarter, there were 18 mobile occurrences, 2 of which resulted in a suspect apprehension pursuit. The remaining 16 were managed through alternatives to a pursuit. And of those, all 16 individuals had been identified, resulting in 75 criminal charges, which is indicative of the, in somewhat respects, I believe, the training that our officers have undergone in the past 18 months to 2 years surrounding suspect apprehension pursuits, but I think those, board will find that those statistics are impressive. In those cases, 60, in all of those cases, a subject was identified and charged late. With respect to the two, the compliance with the related procedures remains at 100% for the quarter. And again, this is largely due, in my view, to the training that was recently implemented. Subject to any questions the board has, that is the report.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Bastine. Board, any questions for the Deputy Chief? Councilor Lena?
Yeah, I know we had discussed this at a prior board meeting about pursuits. And that this was very impressive. Deputy Chief, to see that 16, only 2 of 18, only 2 were engaged in pursuit. But the other 16, the fact that somehow services managed to identify and resulting in 75 criminal charges and 10 provincial offenses being laid, with keeping it 100%. I mean, that's well done, because we know how with your mandate of keeping the public safe, and it's frustrating at times, I'm sure, because you want to apprehend those that are suspect of offenses, but you're balancing public safety on the other hand with mitigation on the chases, but you're still doing your job. So for my seat, well done.
Thank you. And Chair, through you, if I could just maybe add somewhat further to that. So again, I think I credited the training to a great degree. Shouldn't go without saying that the efforts of individual officers who are involved in these cases again ought to be commended. Previous question was in relation to motorcycles and helmets. So that's a difficulty. That's always a difficulty. That question pertained to, if I recall correctly, the efforts we can take to identify motorcycle operators in particular. I don't know the specifics of these 16 cases, but clearly there was enough information collected in the moment, probably information shared over the air, et cetera. And then ultimately some follow-up investigation that led to the successful identification of these individuals and the laying of charges. We know, which is a good thing, because we know that pursuits they're risky to the community, but they're risky to officers, to everybody involved, which is why they're so closely regulated, and that the test that is involved in when an officer decides whether or not to pursue a vehicle is so strict. So we know that when pursuits are undertaken, sometimes things go very badly. And oftentimes, as you'll hear in a later report today, through no fault of the officers, but then those ultimately result in processes which are very stressful for officers. So this, I agree, is a good news report.
Thank you,
I'll move.
just before we get to that, Member Goss.
Definitely, you've actually answered my question, Chair, but I will just take a moment just to add that to echo Member Lehman's comments, just the downward trend is fantastic. I think that it just speaks to the need of training and the focus that's been put on by Senior Command to update training and make sure that the tools and facilities and practices that are needed to make sure the officers can do their job are there, and you have support from me in whatever's needed in the future. So well done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Goss. Sure.
Just want to add, I know we like to see the connection of our different committees work to the larger work of the organization. And before you came on the Risk Management Committee, Susan, we had a lot of discussions about this stuff. And I just want to say, this is from a meeting trying to mitigate risk for our organization, for the community. And I believe that probably has something to do with the reduction in the numbers on this report. So that goes back a few years. Yeah, so it's really good work happening in that committee.
Thank you. So I have member Bransco moving the following motion that the board receives for informational purposes the suspect apprehension pursuit Q3 of 2023 report. That's moved by member Bransco, seconded by Councillor. I saw flinch over there first. So Councillor Layman, all right, so all in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Thank you. Lunches count. All right. Deputy Chief Bastine, staying with you, sir. So Crime Stoppers quarterly report for Q3 2023. Already.
Sure, and Chair for you. So this is the third quarter report on Crime Stoppers tips received. On the heels of the Q2 report last meeting, again, we see that the number of tips received in the first 3 quarters of 2023 continues to trend downwards compared to 2022. And likewise, through all the markers, arrests, cleared cases, payouts, etc. We know that it's essentially a longstanding partnership that the police services have, including the police service with Crime Stoppers. And that we have a role to play in terms of helping that agency succeed in the sense that they help us succeed as well. So we monitor that trend. Again, I suppose the point to remember is that it is something that is subject to individuals' access to information, access to knowledge, willingness to come forward with reports. So the trend will continue to be monitored for any intervention that we might be able to do in the future into this partnership. Those are 2 questions you have. That's the report for the board's
I'll
information.
move it.
Second, thank you. I need to see a flinch this time. Okay, so. Okay, moved by Vice Chair Walker, seconded by member Goss. It's on the floor. Any questions for Deputy Chief Bastine with regards to Crime Stoppers? I see none. Okay, let's call the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. All right. You're earning your paycheck today, Deputy Chief Bastine, SIU investigations.
Thank you, Chair, through you. This is the report submitted in accordance with Part 8 of the Police Services Act, Reg 26810, respecting special investigations, unit investigations for the board's information. On August 22nd, 2023, the Special Investigations Unit released its report relating to its investigation into the actions of an LPS officer as they pertain to an allegation of sexual assault. The SIU concluded that there was no evidence of a criminal offense committed by the officer. A professional standards branch investigation into the related policies and services of the LPS followed and into the conduct of all the officers involved. That investigation yielded no evidence of misconduct and determined that the officers adhered with relevant LPS procedures. Subject to any questions, that's the report for the board's information.
So that's the first report. Is there any questions for Deputy Chief Bastine with regards to the first SIU report? Okay, go on to the second one then.
Thank you, Chair, for you. This report is one I alluded to a moment ago in relation to suspect apprehension pursuits. This was one on August 2017, 2023, the SIU concluded its investigation into the actions of an LPS officer related to a collision between 2 civilian motor vehicles, and which resulted sadly in the death of the driver of one of them. The SIU concluded that there was no evidence of a criminal offense committed by the officer involved, and the professional standards branch investigation into the related policies and services of the service, as well as the conduct of that officer, yielded that there was no misconduct and that the officer had adhered with relevant procedures. Just a little bit more information. Essentially the background of that case was that an officer observed a vehicle that appeared suspicious. It fled from the officer without the officer taking any sort of overt action whatsoever, lights, or indicating interest in the vehicle whatsoever. Simply followed from a long distance behind. Moments or minutes later, the officer came across a collision where, again, sadly, one of the occupants of the vehicles had died. Subject to any further questions or any questions of the board, that's the report for its information.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Bastine. Questions? Councillor Lehman.
Being that the officer didn't engage in the pursuit, why would this go to SIU for investigation?
So the SLU will invoke its mandate to investigate criminal offense committed by a police officer or the potential criminal offense committed by a police officer. So the information in this case was such that the SIU, I can't speak for the SIU, however, it's not uncommon that some degree of involvement of an officer would result in an investigation being undertaken, even to determine that there was no, essentially, no wrongdoing. So it's exclusively within the purview of the Special Investigations Unit. In a case like this, when we are notified and the senior commander is notified of an incident that results, or that may fall within the mandate of the SIU to notify SIU. And it becomes their decision exclusively to make.
No, appreciate it.
Thank you. That's moved by member Branscombe, seconded by vice. You get me, Vice Chair Walker, and everybody else. All right. So, any further questions? It's on the floor. I don't think there would be. Seeing none, call the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. So that's that the board receives for informational purposes to SIU reports. That's just for the minutes there. So at agenda item 10, you're off the hook, Deputy Chief Epstein. That's it. No more. Well, maybe we'll come back to, but that's it in terms of the sequence there. So public correspondence, there's only one piece, and I did make a verbal recognition of that. And I see Mr. Rick Robson's at the back there again, but we wrote a letter to Mr. Robson, congratulating him on the Police Association of Ontario Leadership Award. Again, congrats to you, sir. We just put it in writing this time to make it official. So. If you ever need an applause, Rick, just come by every month. We'll get each other. Let us know. Follow you to open offer. So yeah, that's the only piece of correspondence there. So just a motion that the board receives for informational purposes, the one piece of. Thank you, Vice Chair Walker, seconded by member Ross. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Okay. Just a couple panel updates, or one panel update actually. The Anti-Racism Advisory Panel, which affectionately referred to as ARAP, met. Our last meeting was on October 4th. Just a quick update, the panel is currently reviewing our terms of reference, and we're discussing, the scope and parameters of the participation of our panel members. And we're currently brainstorming about, the structure and composition, next steps, strategies, approaches we can take at that particular panel to facilitate, the work of the panel. Just to give you a little bit of background, these panels, we have two panels, the Anti-Racism Advisory Panel, and then MHAP, the Mental Health Addictions Advisory Panel. I needed the second page was for something advisory panel. They were both created during COVID, and they basically meet regularly to provide advice on two subject matters, right? So anti-racism for the ARAP panel, mental health addictions on the other one. And so they provide, they meet, and then recommendations are provided to the board, or suggestions are provided to the board after there. So one thing that we're doing at ARAP, we just started this process, is we're going through the Ontario Human Rights Commission. They issued the Ontario Human Rights Commission issued a framework for change for addressing systemic racism in policing. It was a series of 10 recommendations that were provided and made by the Ontario Human Rights Commission. So one of the things that we're doing at ARAP is we're just starting to go through them. We're going to go through them one by one, talk about them, discuss them, see what application, if any, we could talk about in terms of London Police. But it's just part of the purview of the panel there. So that's something that we'll be engaging in over a series of the following months. And our next panel meeting is November 1st, at which point we will pick up where we left off there. So, and then with, I don't think NHAP met, but Vice Chair, okay. So there is no NHAP verbal update there. So those are the two panel updates. We'll report back to you next time we meet there. So we don't need a motion on that. Insofar as the next agenda item, which is 13, the chair's verbal update. I just want to put, it's very, very light, this meeting. Member Goss will be joining, I think you'll be enrolling in the Citizen Academy, right, coming up. So when's that start? Can't leave this place. Yeah, so member Goss, good luck with that. We look forward to updates and reports in terms of how that, and I know that Councillor Lehman and Councillor Stevenson just completed that not that long ago, right? Graduated June, so, and you found it very valuable and meaningful and lots of merit to it, right? So
It's
hopefully.
unfortunate you didn't get to shoot the gun, which I did.
Yeah.
We got to see a taser gun shot.
Oh, okay, all right. Back in the day, you could shoot a gun, so you're.
Yeah, it's a Glock. I was all ready to go when I was there. I said, turn on my side and come up again.
I would sign up for that, yeah. Yeah.
It was great.
But yeah, so good luck to you there. And then I wanted to put on everybody's radar that, there's going to be a special board meeting on October 30th, to discuss the budget. So we'll send more details, as they, I think there'll be probably some communication that comes out from our communications department and through the board. And, but there will be, if you want to mark it as a hold the date, October 30th, I believe 4:30. But again, just wait for further details to be confirmed on that front, but just to put that on everybody's radar, there will be a special board meeting on October 30th there. So with that, any questions for me with regards to the chair's verbal update? Seeing none, if I get a motion that the board receives my verbal update related to business of the board, Vice Chair Walker with her Glock, virtual Glock, yeah, no Glock, and Member Branscombe. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that is carried. Ms. Foster with your administrator verbal update.
Just a really brief one. I had a meeting with my Big 12 network on October 10th. OAPSB attended as well, so the executive, Lisa Darling, who you know Susan from your director role on the board. Just a few updates. We've been waiting for the Community Safety Policing Act for a long time. Her update was the spring of 24 is when we can expect that. So that'll be here before we know it. Hopefully they stick to those timelines. Some things that are coming with the new act are mandatory training for boards, which is good. We've sort of found our way to those items of training by either hiring or just getting it where we can. So it'll be nice to have that as part of the package. And another thing that we have to look forward to is a very significant increase in membership fees. So we will have to talk about that as a board. That's my update.
Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions for Ms. Foster with regards to her administrator update?
No questions, but I am on the community practice committee, so just to let you know, we're doing weekly meetings to get that training ready.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Councillor Stevenson. I don't believe we had new business, right? I don't think we had any. Chief, pass it over to you.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to, and through you, I just wanted to add comments to your opening comments of our officers keeping the community safe during homecoming. And I just want to make sure, I take the opportunity to address some of the reasons why. It's due to our partnerships. We have partnerships with the city, emergency management and security, EMS, fire, Western security, the community. And we had support from York Regional Police, Hamilton Police, and Windsor Police that all came to get the job done to keep the community safe. But I'd be remiss if I didn't identify Superintendent Guilford, Inspector Scrivens from Uniform Division Command. Those two were the two senior officers responsible for the whole project and the whole homecoming planning. There was a lot of planning in place, and with them, they had staff sergeants, and a lot of our frontline officers and constables. So it's with all of that coming together and the professionalism and dedication from our officers, that's why homecoming was a success this year. And there was a good balance of ensuring that the kids, I say kids, but we're 18, 19, still kids. A balance with them having fun and maintain the safety of everyone. So I just wanted to just to comment on your remarks. So a special thanks to them, to everyone from the administration and yourselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that. That's a sentiment echoed by the board as well. So thank you for that. Okay, friends, and with that, our next regularly scheduled board meeting is November 16th, 2023, and I will need a motion to adjourn. I was looking that way, right? So, member Ganscombe, second by member Goss. No one's opposed. Thank you, everybody. That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.